Hey everybody. Well, I'm the multi-voice reviewer. I have many voices, but one opinion. Wait a minute, I think I should practice on my Shrek impression, I guess. Donkey! I'm an ogre! Grab your torch and pitchforks. Doesn't that bother you? I'm the multi-voice reviewer. I have many voices, but one opinion. And that's right, folks. This is my review for the day. Since I am Oz, the great and powerful. And the review I'm going to review for you today is none other than Shrek. But here's one thing that none of you people didn't even know. That Shrek was actually based from a kid's book written by William Steig. Now, he wanted to create a story. I mean, since we all grew up in, cliche fairy tales and all the fairy tales that used to be in public domain, but now Disney owned them. So, pretty much, he decided to write a kid's book, a fairy tale kid's book that is anti-fairy tale. And of course, it is Shrek. And as you can see, this is what Shrek really looks like in the book. I should talk more about the children's book. So pretty much this is like my Lawson adaptations, where I took movies and books and show what they left out, what they put in, and how much they changed. Now I remember in the book, Shrek had a mother and father, and they're the most ugliest couple of ogres you have ever witnessed. But their son Shrek is way uglier than they are. And as Shrek got older, his mother and dad decided to kick him out and let him go on his own adventure. He is so terrifying that he can spit flames from the farthest reaching towards any field. And anybody who sees him would scream in horror and ran. And of course, his stench, people cannot even stand his stench. Even animals want to get away from him. And as for plants and trees, they just want to lean away from him. Heck, even one time when a snake tries to bite him, he contorts itself and then died, while Shrek is unharmed. Kind of sounds like what Chuck Norris said on The Expendables.
Hey, one thing I heard that you were bitten by a king cobra.
Yeah, I did. And after 5 hours of agonizing pain, the cobra died. And also, the Thunder and Lightning couldn't stand Shrek, so they decided to, strike Shrek with one of their lightnings. But instead, the lightning got right into Shrek's mouth and he swallowed it and belched smoke. And then from out of nowhere, he sees this witch who is brewing something over her cauldron. And Shrek walk up to the witch and says, and of course, the witch looked at Shrek and just went like, "Oh gosh," over his appearance and such. But Shrek walked up to the witch and told the witch, "Please tell me about my fortune, and I'll give you some headlights I got that are very rare." And the witch was like, "You got a deal." All Shrek has to do is he has to meet a donkey. Hey, that's right. He needs to go meet me. He has to go meet the donkey, and And if you want to know if it's the donkey he's looking for, all he has to say is this one word. Actually, 2 words. Apple strudel. Apple strudel, huh? Maybe one of these days when I'm going shopping for groceries, I should buy myself some toaster strudel. I may not have a toaster, but at least I can cook it. Because I haven't had a toaster strudel in a long, long time. And they are pretty delicious. But the one I really like is the icing you put on top of the strudels. It's just the German in me. Ja. Well, folks, is it obvious? My last name Grimm, it's German. Now, one thing I also heard that the word Shrek is German as well. And it's German for fear and terror. That's what Shrek stands for. As for my last name Grimm, well, it's pretty obvious. Means serious. I mean, just dead serious, never smiles, like this. Kind of hard to believe that my personality is the opposite of my last name. Anyway, after the witch told him about his fortune, that he has to meet the donkey and say apple strudel, and the donkey would lead him to a castle where lies a princess ogre waiting for her true love. So there's a princess in this story, believe it or not. And it's not Fiona. Come to think of it, in the book, the princess doesn't have a name. Anyway, Shrek heard the witch's fortune and decided to go off on his destiny. And from out of nowhere, he found this peasant who was just hacking the weeds with his scythe, or scythe, however you call it. You know, the one that Grim Reaper always used. Mr. Death used to carry one until he stops using it. But anyway, he found a peasant, and the peasant was kind of shocked over his appearance. But the peasant decided to show some peace treaty by showing him, because Shrek saw this bag that he was carrying, and it turns out he had a couple of pheasants in there. So, what he did, Shrek, with his beaming glare, he paralyzed the peasant, kind of fainted him. And as for the pheasants he took out of his case, with his beam, he cooked the pheasant. He didn't have any heat vision, it's just his glare made them cook. Yeah, this ogre, he breathes fire, he has a powerful glare, and spits flame, and of course, has a very powerful odor when he farts. Do you mind not farting when I'm trying to save the world? Anyway, back to the story. After he was done with the pheasants, from out of nowhere, out comes the dragon. Now, the dragon, she wanted to terrify and destroy Shrek. But it doesn't take effect to him. It doesn't faze him. So he just stays there on his back while the Shrek does her worst. Kept trying to claw him and such, and Shrek's going like, that tickles. And then all of a sudden, when the dragon was about ready to get her claws onto Shrek to rip his head off, Shrek fired he breathed fire right at the dragon, right between its eyes, and it knocked the dragon out. And he said, well, that was fun. And then he went off on his way until he fell asleep. Now, here's one thing you would find kind of funny in this story. Because in this book, he had a nightmare. And his nightmare, he dreams that there were tons of children just running around, frolicking, playing. And it's a nightmare to him. I mean, having happy fun. I mean, if he ain't scaring any kids and they find him adorable, that's his nightmare. Because he's not used to having kids around him. So he woke up and was like, oh, thank God it was a dream. And then all of a sudden he found the donkey. And as he looked at the donkey and wondering if this the donkey he was looking for, he said, Apple strudel. And of course, the donkey replied, going like, hey man, I'm a donkey. I'll take you to your destination. I'm just a fair donkey who knows how to take you for your destination and see if everything goes well on your destination. And of course, Shrek says, cut your yapping, you jabbering jackass. Now, it's in the book, so don't blame me if I cuss, because in the book there's the word jackass in the children's book. Anyway, Shrek got onto the donkey's back and just took off into the castle. And then there was a knight just standing guard in the front gate of the castle, and he says, I'm going inside to see the princess. And the knight was like, over my dead body. So the knight starts taking out his sword, starts swinging it at Shrek, but Shrek, he breathed fire again and turned his suit of armor into a frying pan. Because he starts burning inside of his suit of armor, he just jumps into the moat. And now he has to go into the castle to see something very, very ugly. As he walked into the castle, he was surrounded by ugly, hideous, gross, disgusting, horrifying ogres all over him. He thought they're so disgusting and they're mimicking him, until he figured out it was a room full of mirrors. Since he decided to punch one, it shattered. So he figured out, oh, it's my reflection. I never thought it was that hideous. And then he walked all the way to meet the princess. And believe it or not, this princess is an ogre in this book. Trust me, it is. The princess that he's supposed to meet is an ogre princess. So she's an ogre, just like Fiona. She never turned into a human, she just stayed an ogre. Anyway, Shrek was mesmerized by her gruesome look and her features and her ugliness. So pretty much, they did a bit of like a rap battle towards one another, talking about how ugly they look and such. But Fiona won, but it sweeps Shrek off his feet. Even the princess says this, your nose is so hairy, oh let us not tarry. Your look is so scary, I think we should be merry. So at the end of the book, you see Shrek and the princess getting married by a giant alligator-looking guy wearing an alligator skin robe. I mean, the alligator looked pink, but the robe looked kind of greenish. And now and of course, the alligator priest announced them man and wife, and they live happily ever after. And this was the book. It started the whole Shrek thing. Now, when they decided to make the movie, one of the creators, now, I forgot his name, but he used to work with Disney and Pixar, mostly Disney Animation. Now, the story Shrek was like a huge middle finger to the old-fashioned fairy tales. And of course, today's society, most people are getting so sick and tired of fairy tales now that we don't want any more beautiful damsel in distress princess or a handsome and dashing Prince Charming involved or anything like that. Just something very different. So therefore, and the creator who quit working for Michael Eisner decided to work on DreamWorks and made this box office success animated movie, Shrek. Now, they changed a lot from the book to the movie, believe it or not. Like in the book, Shrek is more caring, kill animals. Donkey, he's a jibber jabber kind of guy. And the princess, her name is Fiona, and she looks human in the daylight, but in the nighttime, she's an ogre. And of course, they made a villain, which they pretty much are trying to referencing him to Walt Disney. I mean, he has a Napoleon complex. His name is Farquaad, and he is about as short as a dwarf. And he runs this Farquaad castle, which is a really, really big castle. I mean, just like what Shrek says. So this is Farquaad's castle. Yeah, that's the place. I wonder if he's compensating for something. My favorite scene in this movie is this: when Donkey was about ready to be sold by by an old lady who are trying to take all these fairy tale critters and transport them somewhere else by Farquaad's orders. All fairy tale creatures were being transported, including Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear, and the dwarfs, and also Pinocchio. And all of a sudden, the bunch of knights discovered that he can talk, even though the old lady tries to tell him that he talks. And as the knights were coming after Donkey, he ran into Shrek. And I remember how this scene goes. You there! Ogre! Aye? By the orders of Lord Farquaad, I place you two under arrest and transport you into a designated facility? Oh, really? You and what army? And the guys were gone, so the guy left. And I guess one thing that's different in the movie, Shrek, he's actually an outcast. He's big, he's gross, he's ugly, but the problem with him is that he has a problem with other people. People take one look at him and they say he's a big, stupid, ugly ogre. They judge him before they ever get to know him. You know, that kind of reminds me so much about how most outcast teenagers are in high school, being judged by so many people before they get to know him. And I've been through that myself, and it's really sad. And as for Donkey, he's sort of an outcast by being a chatterbox. People find him annoying, but when he first met Shrek, he didn't judge by his ugly appearance. He judged because he was pretty. He only sees him as a good guy, and he also sees him as a mean green fight machine and a tough guy, and he thinks that's the perfect guy for him to hang out with. Even though Shrek doesn't like him, I remember this. You're the mean green fight machine. Together we're getting scared to spit out everybody. Ah! Wow, that is really scary. And don't mind me asking, if that don't work, you're definitely sure to do the job done because you definitely need some Tic Tacs or something because your breath stinks. Man, over the hair on my nose. Just gonna time. When I ate those rotten berries, man, that's some strong gas eking my butt that day. I just love saying all those lines from the movie. Anyway, next thing Shrek noticed, his swamp was overrun by the fairy tale creatures. It turns out that Lord Farquaad did transport all those fairy tale creatures to Shrek's swamp. So what Shrek do? He went all the way to see Farquaad to get his swamp back and get all those critters out of his land. I want to see this Farquaad right now and get you out of my land and back where you came from. Shrek and Donkey, two stalwart friends in a big word city adventure. I love it. On the road again. Come on, Shrek. I get ready to get on the road again. What have I told you about singing? What, can I whistle? No. What, can I hum? All right. Anyway, Farquaad, he's trying to become king to his castle, but it turns out he's not really king. But the only way he can be is he needs to marry a princess. And of course the mirror was doing the dating game reference. He would have choose Bachelor number 1 as Cinderella, Bachelor number 2 as Snow White, or Bachelor number 3, Fiona, voiced by Cameron Diaz. And now Farquaad thought if he married Princess Fiona, he could finally become king. Oh yeah, and another thing, a little known fact. Did you know that Shrek's role was actually belonged to Chris Farley? Chris Farley was originally the guy who was supposed to be doing the voice of Shrek, but sadly since his passing, Shrek has been replaced by Mike Myers.
Living in a van nearby the river!
I just like doing Chris Farley, you know? And it's really sad that he was gone. Anyway, back to the story. Since Shrek did a little
WDW!
I mean
WWE Wrestling Match of the Night! Yeah! Ha ha ha! Ah!
after he wrestled with a bunch of knights, Farquaad gave Shrek the mission to go to the castle to find Fiona and defeat the dragon. But Shrek is already on the quest to get his swamp back, so they made a deal. If he brings the princess over to his castle, then he'll give him their swamp back. Exactly the way it was, down to the last slime-covered toadstool. And the squatters, as good as gone. Yeah, I know, John Lithgow does the voice of Farquaad, which, he's a talented actor. He did a pretty good job doing Farquaad.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, is this not the most perfect kingdom of them all?
Well, technically, you're not a king. Anyway, they finally made it all the way to the castle. And as they saw the huge castle hanging on top of boiling lake of lava, sure, it's big enough, but look at the location! Anyway, Shrek finally found Fiona, while Donkey, he met the dragon. But it turns out that the dragon was a female, and now she's getting kind of smitten over Donkey's talking. I guess his jibber jabber pays off, getting female dragon's attention.
You're a girl dragon? Sure, I mean, of course you're a girl dragon, because you're reeking of feminine beauty and... What's the matter, you got something in your eye?
Anyway, since Shrek got Fiona and also saved Donkey from the dragon, Fiona was really peed off that her Prince Charming turned out to be Shrek. You're an ogre. Oh, you're expecting Prince Charming. I know, I look ugly when I make this smile. Anyway, throughout the entire movie, Shrek and Fiona are kind of hitting it off. They started to like each other because how different they are. And of course, Fiona, she ain't no typical damsel. She does martial arts. That's what we need. We need some princesses who knows how to kick A and not be so much of a typical damsel. That's what we need. We need princesses who can kick ass. I know I shouldn't be cussing, but at least I have an attitude to say it. But anyway, one thing I hated is that it turns out that Fiona, at night, she turns into an ogre. And Donkey think that her and Shrek deserve each other because they're a better couple than her being with Farquaad. But Shrek overheard it and took it as a wrong thing. But he finally got his swamp back while Fiona ends up with Farquaad. And as she was about ready to be married, Donkey, he wanted to set things straight with Shrek. Since he also lives in the swamp, he's building a wall between him and between Shrek and Donkey.
Now give me that big old rock, the one that looks like your head.
But all of a sudden, it turns out that whatever Shrek was thinking, it wasn't exactly what he thought. It was something else. So, they decided to get back. They need to crash their wedding, and Shrek to tell Fiona what he really feels about her. But, surprise, surprise, Donkey ordered Dragon over to help out. So, they finally got all the way to the wedding.
Now, there's a thing we need to do, like when the priest says, speak now, forever hold your peace, that's when you prefer, that's when you would say, I object. Man, I don't have time for this. Hey, do you really love this woman? Yes. You want to hold her? Yes. Please her? Yeah. When you got to try a little tenderness. The Jack's love kind of crap. Alright, knock it out. Cut it out. I just love the movie so much, okay? So, don't blame me when I'm getting overexcited over quoting all the things. But anyway, to make a long story short, Fiona revealed herself as an ogre at nighttime, and Farquaad was trying to have Fiona killed and throw Shrek to the dungeon, but the dragon showed up and ate Farquaad, and of course, what Fiona needs is her true love's kiss to take her true love's true form. So when he kissed her, she stayed as an ogre. And Shrek, he likes her as an ogre. And they end up as a happy ending. I love happy endings. And of course, you be hearing Smash Mouth singing. Then I saw her face. No, I'm a believer. Yeah, not a trace and doubt in my mind. I'm in love. Ooh, I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried. Anyway, since Shrek was a box office success, that's when they made the sequel. Now, not many people cared about this one, but I like it. And here it is, Shrek 2. And you see Fiona as her ogre self. And here's a character I really, really, really like in this movie. Hilly Ogre, pray for mercy from Puss and Boots. Ha ha ha! I mean, I love the idea, and I also love having Antonio Banderas doing the voice of Puss in Boots. I mean, it's just perfect. I mean, showing a little bit of Zorro into it. Hola! Ha ha! En garde, amigo! Wah! Ha 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 ha! But in the sequel here, it turns out that Fiona's mom and dad, voiced by John Cleese, and darn it, I forgot. I forgot the name of the actress. She's the one who played Mary Poppins on Mary Poppins. She does the voice of Fiona's mom. And of course, there was that one awkward scene. Say something crazy! Like, there's a Pinocchio who's all tangled up in the rope, and he needs to lie to let his nose grow long to get to them. So he had to say something crazy like he's wearing ladies' underwear. I'm wearing ladies' underwear. You really do? I do not! You look like you shouldn't have on. I do not. What kind? It's a thong! Oh yeah, and another thing. Shrek decided to take the formula called the Happily Ever After potion, and somehow it made him look like Mark Ruffalo. Yeah, Mark Ogre, huh? And of course, the fairy godmother, voiced by Jennifer Saunders, she really wants Shrek and Fiona not to be together, so her son, Prince Charming, voiced by Rupert Everett, kiss Fiona so she can be with him. But of course, Fiona's father switched the tea. And of course, when the fairy godmother put a spell on Shrek, the king wore a chest plate, and he jumped and took the spell, and it turned him into a frog. So it turns out he's the frog from the Princess and the Frog story, not to be confused with the Disney version. I have friends on the other side. Anyway, the sequel was really good. And then here comes the, not too good trilogy. Shrek the Third. Shrek refused to be king, and Fiona's pregnant. Oh yeah, and also Donkey showed up with the offsprings of part donkeys, part dragons. Could that be possible? And on this one, Prince Charming wants what he wanted. Take over happily ever after and become king. So he had a bunch of bad guys to help him out. But Shrek, he doesn't want to be king at all. He wants to go back to his swamp with his wife Fiona and with his friends. So, what he does, he goes all the way to a medieval-looking high school where they meet Arthur Pendragon here, voiced by Justin Timberlake. I'm bringing sexy back, yeah! And all the boys don't know how to act, yeah! Oh, God. And of course, they also had Eric Idle doing the voice of Merlin. Now, as long as I remember, Merlin was the wise and mystical, magical wizard, but this one, he's just an old hippie. And also, they made Arthur here be a little outcast wimp who is picked on by bullies. This one is okay. That's all I can say. But whoever made that movie made it up for it by making Shrek Forever After, the final chapter, where it turns out Rumpelstiltskin was the one involved with the spell and such. And as for Shrek, he doesn't like living his life being married with the kids and having Donkey and Dragon and Puss in Boots. He wanted the simple life to know what it's like if he didn't save Fiona. So he made a deal with Rumpelstiltskin, and that happened. All of a sudden, he lives in the swamp all by himself. No Fiona, no Donkey, no Puss in Boots. None of that never happened. It's like It's a Wonderful Life in a way. What would it be like if he wasn't around? And a lot has changed. I did not like what they did with Puss in Boots. They made him completely obese. I like him better when he's slim. But one thing I would say, they made Fiona. I mean, when he was going over to meet Fiona, they made her look like an ogre version of Boudica. For those of you who don't know, she is a Celtic warrior queen. Look it up on British history, okay? And I gotta say, she looks hot as a warrior ogre queen. I mean, tell you the truth, I was more attractive to the ogre version of Fiona than I did with the human-looking Fiona. All in all, this was a lot better story and a lot better movie. I recommend it. And yes, I know, there were some video games of Shrek, but I haven't played any of the games. I mean, I played that one game for PlayStation, but it wasn't that good. And they did do a spin-off, Puss in Boots the movie, which I haven't seen, and I haven't seen any of the shorts lately. But sooner or later I will. I will and tell you what I think about it. But to me, I treasure all these Shrek movies. Oh yeah, that's right. They did a Forever After Idol with Simon Cowell himself. I say your performance is bloody lousy. No reason for me to be rude, but seeing and hearing you doing your performance makes me want to gouge my eyes out and stick my pencil in my ear. That's my Simon Cowell impression. You're absolutely dreadful. But anyway, these are really good. And those of you who have them on DVD or Blu-ray, please enjoy them, because they're really awesome. You can go on number 3, but number 4 was a better one. Well,
This is Multi-Voice Reviewer, aka The Wizard of Oz. So for those of you who likes my review of Shrek, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe for more videos. And guess what my next review is going to be? It's going to be a top 10 list. And it's sort of a remake of one of my videos. And it is top 10 female superheroes I admire. I know I should have used the word heroine, but I don't like the name. I don't like to call them heroine. I like to call them heroes. Anyway, see you next time.